You gotta love a good crossover, no matter what the two properties are. In this case, we got to wondering what it would be like if some of the villains from the Marvel Cinematic Universe ever got to join forces with some of the best from the DC roster. The results made us wish that these were a reality. From brains to brawn, these crossovers had us fanboying for days. But before we reveal our wacky crossover selections, be sure to click on the subscribe button to stay up to date with everything geeky at CBR.
Down in the real world, we're faced with ugly choices.
Who sent you?
I see a suit of armor around the world.
Ultron and Cyborg. Neither of these two mechanical beings have strings on their bodies, but that doesn't mean that they're any less intimidating. If anything, these two are pretty terrifying due to all the mechanical gizmos that they have stored away in their various apparatuses. While we're familiar with Ultron thanks to the second Avengers film, fans can't wait to get their first look at Cyborg in the upcoming Justice League film. Seeing these two go toe-to-toe would certainly be interesting, as they both have some awesome technological abilities that some of their peers could only dream about. Okay, maybe not Iron Man, but that's besides the point. Both Ultron and Cyborg were created by people who love them or love the idea of them, so despite their similarities, these two would have to go at it as they represent their total opposite. Hating the mere sight of each other, an epic duel of technological might would have to follow suit. Both are well equipped with an impressive list of abilities, from flight and combat to building an army in his own image. Ultron may have a slight advantage with numbers and vibranium, but in the end, we think Cyborg would come out the victor in this one. But who do you think would win in this bout? Let us know in the comments below.
Can we just skip to the part where I thrashed you all? I'm gonna take that as a no.
Ego and Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman had one heck of a year in 2017. She stormed the big screen with her own film in the summer to rave reviews and a huge box office haul, and she'll feature prominently in the upcoming Justice League film. She's one of the DC roster's strongest heroes, able to go toe-to-toe with Superman himself. No small feat. But in the battle of gods, how would she fare against an actual celestial being? We're of course talking about Ego, the living planet. Much like the Skull City of Nowhere, Ego is a celestial, which is basically space talk for being a god. This particular matchup would be dependent entirely on Ego's current state of being. If he's in his human shell, then Wonder Woman would probably mop the floor with him. Considering how Ego would want to destroy the Earth, she would definitely want to ensure that doesn't happen. Plus, she's pretty familiar with a lot of deities, and Ego would appear as a stranger to her. But once he goes full planet mode, things might get a bit more intense. But we'd like to think that Diana Prince's powers and weapons could serve her well in a celestial battle. She is the daughter of Zeus, after all.
So you came back to die with your city?
I came back to stop you.
Vulture and Batman. Now here's a match made in heaven. The Vulture is a classic Spider Man villain, and he recently got his big screen treatment in the MCU film Homecoming. In that film, he went toe-to-toe with Tom Holland's web slinger, and he was positively brilliant. But his technological edge and fancy for flying creatures does make him a perfect counterpart for a certain detective. We're of course referring to the Dark Knight of Gotham himself, Batman. Seeing these two go at it would definitely be intriguing, as Vulture would be both a physical threat to Batman as well as someone who can tap into Bruce Wayne's emotional wavelengths. It'd be more than just a cool fight, it'd be personal and pretty evenly matched, we gotta say. Tech and wings would come at a collision course here. It's quite likely the Vulture would come out on top in the early portions of this duel, with his superior technology aiding in his favor, but whenever Batman is down, he always finds a way to get back up. Vulture may have the toys, but Batman has the brains as well, and in the end, the pen is mightier than the sword, and we trust that Batman, considering his track record, will come out on top in this one.
You can't say it's not fair. We're done with fair.
Killgrave and Supergirl. For those who haven't watched Netflix's Jessica Jones, Kilgrave is quite the powerful foe. By stating a command, he can get anyone to do anything he desires. This could be something simple as go get some coffee to embarking on a crime spree. The victim would be powerless to stop such a command. Now take someone as powerful as Supergirl and put her under the command of a villain. Yeah, that's not a good combination right there. Suddenly, the biggest fears from Batman vs. Superman become a reality. What happens when someone as powerful as Superman decides to turn against the planet? And while Supergirl definitely wouldn't have a choice in the matter, she would still be inflicting great harm on whoever Kilgrave desires. If Superman needed to take Kilgrave out, she would need to find a way to do it without being too close to him. She'd also need to be patient and research her opponent, not unlike what Jessica Jones did in her own Netflix series. It would take Supergirl out of her comfort zone, but for a foe that could use her own power against anyone else, that may be a prudent idea. Plus, it'd be interesting seeing Supergirl in a situation she's unfamiliar with.
Put men on the dock.
They see the mask, put a bullet in him.
Kingpin and Nightwing. This is as close as we could get to Netflix's Daredevil without actually putting Daredevil in the equation. Kingpin is one of the MCU's most interesting villains. He may not have magical powers or a technological edge like some of the other MCU villains out there, but he's ruthless, cunning, and deceptively strong. With his iron will, he sought to rule New York City by enforcing his influence in all matters of life. So who would be there to stop such a villain? Well, considering the man without fear is unavailable for this list, we figured Nightwing. Trusty ally of Batman and all-around fan favorite would be a great fit. Like Batman before him, Nightwing aims to make his city a safer place. Before he was Nightwing, he was the boy wonder himself, so Dick Grayson definitely knows a thing or two about vigilante combat. He was trained by Batman after all. Kingpin might be resourceful and strong, but what worked for Daredevil would definitely work just as well for a man trained by the Caped Crusader. Much like Daredevil, Nightwing also relies little on gadgets, which would make this battle one for the fisticuffs.
You don't give up, do you? Nope.
Red Skull and Green Arrow. We couldn't resist the color combination on at least one entry. While there were two green options in the DC roster, we clearly had to use the Red Skull as the MCU villain in this matchup. The feared Hydra villain from the first Captain America film, he was both exceptionally powerful and terrifying. Not only was his red face the stuff of nightmares, but he could handle the Tesseract without any consequence. Not an easy foe to take out even for Captain America, which makes it a tough matchup for the Green Arrow, unfortunately. They may be colorful beings, but the Arrow is definitely in a tougher position here, but that shouldn't deter him. Oliver Queen has seen his fair share of odd and unusual, and has taken them on without fear. Many people view him as another version of Batman, a billionaire vigilante, but the Hood also took on his fair share of supernatural, thanks to the League of Assassins. With this in mind, Oliver Queen would actually be very prepared for a fight against the terrifying Red Skull. Armed with the power of the Tesseract, he fashioned a scientifically superior army of his own and threatened Western civilization as we know it. But Green Arrow, equipped with combat skills and pinpoint accuracy with the bow, would definitely know how to plan for the occasion.
Is that all you've got?
Abomination and The Flash. Here's one combination that we'd love to see: insane strength versus immense speed. For those who honestly may have forgotten, Abomination was the villain in the Ed Norton Hulk movie back in 2009. While not the best film in the MCU roster, it was still a fun film that gave us plenty of sweet Hulk moments. It also gave us Abomination, a terrifying monster of a villain who went at it with the Hulk in the final act. Much like the Hulk, Abomination has a pretty amazing set of moves and is a lot faster than you might think. But how would he fare against the fastest man alive? This is where it gets interesting, as a move like the Thunderclap, where the Hulk or Abomination's hands come together to emit a shockwave, would definitely knock the Flash off his feet, but the Flash would also be able to run circles around a giant creature like Abomination no matter how strong he is. While Abomination may be able to knock the Flash into next week, we think Barry Allen's considerable speed would give him the advantage here. It's always fun to see how a weaker challenger will overtake an impossible foe, but it'd be highly entertaining watching Allen's superior brain work out a way to take on the MCU villain.
I'm a Green Lantern. I fear nothing.
Kaecilius and the Green Lantern. There hasn't been a whole lot of magic in the MCU. A fair chunk of science and space shenanigans, but magic was kept on the down low until Doctor Strange knocked that door down. With him came his first antagonist, Kaecilius, who was a renegade sorcerer with some mighty impressive magical abilities. If Strange wasn't there to stop him with the help of the Time Stone no less, then who would be there to save the day? Enter Green Lantern, of course. Despite a dismal live-action film, Hal Jordan is one of the coolest and strongest members of the Justice League out there. With the help of his power ring, Jordan and the other members of the Green Lantern Corps can conjure up anything they can imagine. With this in mind, he would be one heck of a savior when it comes to face Kaecilius. Magic will confront magic in this duel, but the Green Lantern would likely have an edge. While Kaecilius has some impressive magic that bends the laws of physics, Jordan or another Lantern like John Stewart could always find a way to outthink and outimagine anything that comes their way. In the end, Kaecilius' downfall against the Lanterns would be his lack of imagination and single-minded strategy.
Be true heir to the throne.
You can't kill an entire race.
Why not?
Loki and Aquaman. Loki is the god of mischief and adopted brother to Thor, the god of thunder and all-around nice guy, and key member of the Avengers. But if we were to swap out Thor for another deity figure, would we really be bothered by it? Maybe a little, but when that deity happens to be none other than Aquaman, we may be able to forgive this new pairing. Aquaman's mother was born of Atlantis, while his father was a regular old mortal up on the mainland. Aquaman has a responsibility to both the sea and to what happens above it, especially when his own brother threatens to do some serious damage to everything he holds dear. This is honestly starting to sound like deja vu here. Which is why these two would be a perfect combination, as having Loki pair up with Aquaman would be almost like a soft reboot, but it would also change things up a bit to keep things interesting. Gone would be the Asgardian angle, but the brotherly conflict would remain, which is the defining feature of Loki's character. In the end, give us some great characters that we can root for.
Without your helmet, you're getting everything. And it hurts. Doesn't it?
Thanos and Superman. The Clash of Titans, the Battle of Gods. Of course, we had to end this list between Thanos, the big bad of the MCU, and main antagonist in the upcoming Infinity War films, and between Superman, one of the strongest heroes ever written. Even if you haven't seen Henry Cavill's interpretation in the current DCEU, you've likely seen another actor portray him, seen him in animated form, read him in comics, or just know about him through the sheer influence over pop culture. He's an all-powerful being vulnerable to only kryptonite and boasts an awesome set of powers, including ice breath, heat vision, superhuman strength, and flight. Thanos, on the other hand, is still a mystery to many MCU fans, having yet to showcase his full potential. But open a comic book with Thanos involved in the plot and you'll learn to fear him too. When his gauntlet is armed with all the Infinity Stones, Thanos is able to unleash all manner of power against anyone in his path. There's a reason why it'll take that many Avengers and friends to fight him. But how would Superman fare? This is a battle that may go on for ages, as both are insanely powerful beings. In some versions, Superman is even weak against magic, so Thanos could potentially have the upper hand. Who do you see winning about between these two titans?
Look at this! Look around you! You think this madness will end with your rule?
Which matchup would you be most excited to witness at some point? It could be on the big screen or in the comic book page. We personally love Green Lantern with Kaecilius, but want to hear your thoughts. Let us know and be sure to like this video and subscribe to get more videos like this added to your playlist. Thanks for watching.